Special weather heads up on Tropical Storm Isaias, located off of Palm Beach, Florida this morning. This weather video is driven by 802cars.com, representing 802 Toyota, Twin Cities Subaru, and 802 Honda, all located off of Exit 7 on Interstate 89 up in Vermont. Okay, we're looking at Florida, though, this morning, and this is a storm. It was a hurricane, of course, Category 1, but it's right on the edge. It's just a little bit below that. We're looking at the current wind speeds right now, about sustained winds about 65 miles per hour. It's heading northwest at about 8 miles an hour, and that's going to take it awfully close to the track here of the coastline. And it looks like a little bit north of Palm Beach, Florida. You're going to see that cut inland just a little bit, and then probably exit out a little bit north of Cape Canaveral. There has been some shearing going on in its upper levels, mostly probably the top 1/4 of the troposphere, and this is preventing Isaias from being a full-fledged Cat 1 hurricane. That's the good news. Most of the rain is wrapped on its eastern flank with thunderstorm activity away from the actual low-pressure center there, the center of Isaias, and this is going to be taking a track something like this, and it is producing strong gusty winds along the coast of Florida, as to be expected. So far, the heavier rains, really one little spiral band that's up to the north, and that's really not affecting folks. So they're missing out right now, and this is a good thing for basically East Florida currently. This is the National Hurricane Center track, as well as recon flights have been going into this system, helping to give us decent analysis snapshots and then project the forecast track. And with each of these recon flights, things have been getting pretty solid on its track, which basically dumps, again, into the ocean, the western North Atlantic, in very warm waters in this particular area. The Gulf Stream kind of goes a little bit more offshore, so it's not the warmest it could be. But needless to say, this is the track of Tropical Storm Isaias, and then it cuts inland and continues on an inland track until it gets awfully close to the New York City area. It looks like it'll remain inland, take a track awfully close to about Keen, New Hampshire. This is going to be not until once we get into Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning. Isaias showing sustained winds, as I mentioned, 65 miles an hour. Some stronger gusts, probably closer to around 74 miles an hour, but we're looking at that movement northwest about 8 miles per hour. So, again, the track. Taking a look at the European ensemble, this is the projected track of the 51-member model run of the ensemble of the European. And it had shifted a little bit west, just slightly, and you can see that there's several different ideas here, but you get the general picture. Now, what I do want to show you is that any further easterly track will produce winds 40 to 50 miles per hour off the coast, and basically what we're looking at when this moves into Vermont, we're looking at winds generally in that 30 to 40 mile an hour range, which means gusts could be maybe a little bit over 40 miles per hour, especially interaction with the terrain. That's going to be something we'll watch. But basically a track across southeastern Vermont and then eastern New England puts us in the less windy side of the storm, and I'm anticipating that, and that seems to be the projection. So we're on the definitely weaker side of the storm, but also the rainier side of the storm, and this could provide us with much-needed rainfall. How solid a track is this? Well, you can also see this projection with a lot of hurricane models the National Hurricane Center uses and so forth. This is from Florida State, so you get the general area kind of making second landfall, probably one landfall, two landfalls. Don't think it's going to dump out enough over the ocean to make it a third landfall. It remains inland, and that is actually going to help us out here in Vermont with just a rainstorm and maybe some embedded thunderstorm activity. I'll show you that in a second. And again, this is the official National Hurricane Center track, so please use official data. As with any tropical storm, the main threat is going to be wind and rain, and this is the wind gust swath. So here's the tropical cyclone that's going to be taking that track right along the coast, and we'll just run the swath, and you'll get the picture here. So here's our strongest winds. They're pretty far offshore, and that's good news. Not right along the coastline, as the looks like the most prevalent winds in the northeast quad of the right forward quadrant will be where the storm surge and the strongest winds are. But again, here you use the latest local National Weather Service products if you're living in Florida and looking at this. For us in Vermont, we'll watch these winds. You can see how it goes inland there. And again, this is the right forward northeast quad is always where the worst of any wind gusts or storm surges if it's out over the open waters. So this is valid now. This is coming into play here for Vermont. The higher winds here shown here that get close to 40 miles per hour. This is what's taking place today, Sunday, this morning. I don't anticipate any issues with that. It comes a little bit on the closer side. But again, this is Isaias, and you can see that right around Keen because of that track and being a little bit to the right of the center. Southern parts of New Hampshire and awfully close to places like Brattleboro, maybe up to Putney and so forth. Could see some wind gusts interacting with some of the local terrain. And you can see those winds are really not the big problem here. However, let's take a look at rainfall swath and shows where the heaviest rains are going to be. So again, if you're looking at the northeast, the eastern Great Lakes, this is the weather system working through today, Sunday, and we're going to catch a little bit of potential strong thunderstorm activity that develops out of New York, and we'll cover that with a separate issue here. But concentrations on the tropical storm Isaias will be the swath of rain that's going to be mostly offshore until it cuts inland, and then this makes it into parts of eastern North Carolina, South Carolina, and so forth. And you can see that the actual storm is down here, but there is a setup here where there's some convergence, and this is also producing rain well out ahead of the center. This is known as a pre, and this continuation of this with the jet stream winds aloft, blowing that moisture and shearing that moisture off well ahead of it, interacts with the lower parts of the atmosphere and indeed produces a band of showers or persistent rains out ahead of a tracking hurricane. And we see this typically along the coast. This is a little bit more inland, but notice that in Vermont here, this is 10Z on Tuesday, so we're talking in the morning hours about, that's 6 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday morning, and then the rain continues to fall. Much needed rainfall, very beneficial for us here in Vermont and a lot of parts of northern New England, and we'll just continue that. Now, the actual tropical cyclone is still well off to the south, but it's coming our way, and here she comes. I guess it's a he. And you can see some of the mounts a little bit greater than 2 inches, more like somewhere between 2 and locally up to 3.5 inches in parts of New Hampshire and so forth. So we're looking at a pretty good rainfall here. This is the 06Z most recent model run. This is the earlier model run back 8 o'clock yesterday, last night. And so you can kind of see a little bit of a shift, a little bit better chances for rainfall in the last 6 hours here. Okay, this is looking at convection and what convection might do, and you'll notice that we start to see something potentially this afternoon get into the southwest corner of the state, but this is not a big deal. When we start to see those brighter reds, that this is a planned basically lightning flash density, and there's not really going to be a whole lot going on for tonight, just a kind of heads up for this evening. It does look like a lot of that stuff basically is falling apart and weakening. But we are still in environmental conditions that could support a couple of strong thunderstorms this evening, but it doesn't look all that widespread. But keeping a close eye on Tropical Storm Isaias, watch it move up the coast. You can see the pre. This is kind of a spiral band around it. You can kind of see the idea here. Now, out ahead of that, we got convergence, so here comes some thunderstorms. This, again, is in the overnight hours, early Tuesday morning. And we see a little bit of that try to work into Vermont, kind of fall apart. That's been the same old all summer long. And then we do see some potential thunderstorms. So there is going to be some potential thunderstorm activity associated with the passage of Tropical Storm Isaias because of the convergence on its western flank. And this indicates maybe potential some pretty good thunderstorm activity in the mix here. So something we'll have to watch. Again, this is a long ways out, and it's out of here by roughly late morning on Wednesday. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights. Thanks for watching.